you studied industrial mathematics,
Yeah.
and you happen to be left-handed.
Okay.
That's like the right side of the brain at work,
Okay.
which is often attributed to improved spatial reasoning, difference in perceiving things and problem-solving skills. So, do you ever wonder that intelligent people like that drift into atheism more than they believe? And is there a story behind it? What influenced you? What time or circumstance? What happened?
Watch this, because there's something in the book of Romans. You know, the writer was trying to present an argument to say, how can you be moving around every day, seeing all of these things, seeing nature, seeing the happenings, just basically everything, and still doubt that there is. At that point, we need to question your intelligence. We need to question your intelligence. Like, it would then mean that whoever attributed atheism to a high level of reasoning, that person is misinformed, because it is only naturally expected that if truly you are intelligent, you should be able to know and tell that, I mean, these things can't just be as a result of a pig bank. Come on, like, what,
So,
you know? Yes. So I'm saying that by the, remember I said something about standardization. Sometimes some questions arise due to a depravity from a standardization of definition of appropriate definition of things, or a departure, or a watered down, definition handed over time. So then we begin to have problems that are not even that ought not to be problems, but just because of a departure from an original standard definition of something. So I'm saying that it is naturally expected that if truly one is intelligent, there is a spirit that educates to know that there is something more beyond this. There is a God, a creator, a source behind this, and it's that is the real measurement. That is where we can really use this. I tell you, is the standard of truly measuring intelligence and the high intelligence. So I can say that will just
so if one should be intelligent enough that this whole universe, that there is an engineer, there is a big engineer behind it. All right. So, what role do you think religious leaders can play in promoting national transition? I mean, sometime in the Eastern Europe,
yes.
We had Sunday Adeleja.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
he caused a massive national transformation where Ukrainians had to say no to communist influence that is stopping Christianity. So he was a pastor though. So this is also faith-based.
He is a pastor.
He is a pastor.
Yeah.
He is a pastor. So this is also faith-based.
Yeah.
But are there roles you think that we can carry part of what the courage, the planning, the insistence that Sunday Adeleja and Ukrainian people demonstrated? Can we like find places to put it within Nigerian context?
Okay. First of all, I would say there are several roles that I can say that a religious leader can play. I can say they can play a role by leading by example, by admonishing their members to be more involved in public responsibilities, invading systems. We have been in the era of religious leaders just like boxing the whole training and religious engagement within the four walls of the church, so a religious organization. So I can say they can play a major role by, doing all of this. But I will sum it up in discipleship.
Okay.
Because when I think of the roles they can play, seeing that they have followers that look up to them as models, as counselors, as guides, as life coach and all that. I would sum up their roles, their numerous roles in discipleship. Now, watch this. There are two things I'm going to just point out. One can easily say, okay, well, yes, they've been doing that. They've been teaching how to imbibe the teachings of Christ, the life of Christ, his humility, his selflessness, his servant leadership, personality, and all of that. These are teachings that we are conversant with in the churches, right? But how is it that, despite these things, because these are things that are supposed to work, there are things that have been proven to work? Because there was this thing I was reading about is it in Europe now? What's the name of this man? I've forgotten his name now. That brought about a revival, a national transformation, and even an industrial revolution in Europe. I've forgotten the man, a missionary now. I've forgotten his name. So it was said that by the reason of his teaching people and bringing them up, I can say discipling them in moral values, there was that, like you said, from personal to national. Now, it's coming to the Nigeria setting. Like, we have people that by default they are even moralists. They uphold moral tenets. But then when it matters the most, we see something else play out. Now, there's a reason I was really excited about this discourse. Because I remember about 10 years ago, I posted on a certain social media platform that the solution to Nigeria's political problem is going to be spiritual. It is spiritual. And I had people come at me. They came for me. No, we have to be realistic. We have to be. And it then dawned on me. At first, I was defensive, but then I sat and I had to rethink. And it then dawned on me that the reason why people would think that a spiritual approach to reforming a nation is unrealistic is because of what has been handed down over time. What a pattern that has been sold that has seemingly not worked. So they now categorize it as theoretical and not practical. Meanwhile, there is the practical, there is the conversion. I like to call it the conversion principle. Like, after praying, there is a conversion to all of the prayers generated and all of that. So now this is my take on what religious leaders can do beyond just the moral education that they try to bring to instill in people as a solution to national decadence. So there is a discipleship curriculum that we need to visit. I like to call it the apostolic discipleship curriculum.
Yeah.
That is literally what can rescue, what can bring about the salvation we need. It is actually an emphasis of recent in the present generation. It is a literal. I put it to you that one who will successfully lead this nation to the promised land in God is one who will be trained as a pastor is trained. Believe me. Not just pastor, apostolic, in an apostolic manner. I don't know if you might delve more into this, but talking about this curriculum now, it's not in limbo. When we say, sometimes we say these things and it just sounds vague. It's not in limbo. For example, I put it to you that there is such a thing as the shape of the realm of the spirit, or the spirit realm of a territory, of a nation. People are very ignorant of these things. And do you know the funny thing? I discovered that the people that there are people that maximize these things, but they do it from a perverted angle. The original owners of this realm that ought to, because I'll have you know that the spirit realm is the mother realm. Controls the physical realm. So people that utilize this for rulership purposes are majorly the people that are doing it on a negative basis. They know these things, But you see, the Gen Z generational or of the opinion that when we want to address political matters or national matters, we should drop spirituality. Meanwhile, the people that you think are doing it well in the Western countries, they know these things. They know that without the spiritual aspect of it, there is no physical wielding of authority.
So we are like victims. We are like a realm of execution.
Exactly. And if you're ignorant of the source code realm, so to say, you will constantly remain victims. There are spirits that are, I'm sorry now, it's seemingly escalating. There are spirits that are seeking to rule nations. It's a game of spirits. Humans are just
willing
yes,
vessels.
Vessels, yes. To those spirits. It's a game of spirits. So,
all right. So if it's a game of spirits and it's such intensive, do you think that the church is distracted from their core agenda? Because the church is called to discipleship, right? And discipleship can correct or at least create awareness and empower people to get them aware of the game of thrones, game of the spirit.
Yeah.
Do you think the church is a bit distracted, selling things that are immaterial to the purpose?
A bit distracted is an understatement. It's too generous a word to use. Highly distracted, I would say. Highly distracted. Highly distracted. So, first thing I would notice this, rather first thing I would highlight to buttress my point that the Nigerian church is highly distracted. There is this thing that is rampant in Nigerian churches. The ideology of serving God for selfish purposes. Now, it is one thing for people to flood a place and say, oh, there are personal things or selfish things we want to achieve, so we want to use God as a vehicle to achieve it. It is one thing for people to have that defective point of view, and it's another thing for the religious leaders that ought to bring a corrective lens to propagate that agenda, to prosper that agenda. So some people even genuinely go to these religious organizations seeking to know God and bring better direction and all that, but then they sell this selfish agenda. Now what is one thing I would point out is prayer, for example. We have not explored the explosive power, redemptive, restorative, transformative power of prayer. The reason is because now when you speak of prayer as a solution, right? People fight it because what they know to be prayer is something that seeks to serve self. If I can get this thing myself, if I can achieve this thing myself, if I can utilize my brain and get this, why do I need to pray? Meanwhile, it is beyond that. It is beyond that. Now remember, I'm just going to use this point to make to purchase my point. Remember I started from that the spirit realm is the mother realm. Having an understanding that prayer is first a way to partner with the right, if we're talking about injustice, partnering with the right spirits that seek to bring restoration in the sense of enacting justice systems. Prayer is the vehicle that can achieve that. But what they have sold to the average church-going person is that prayer is a means to achieve what you want, regardless, not even minding what the one who created you wants, both for an individual and for a nation.
Okay, so if we can do the right things, discipleship,
yes,
like the right prayers that are not selfish,
yes,
motivated,
yes,
so we can get the right results. All right, so I want to know, I believe in discipleship, and to stand on the safe side, I need to state that clear.
okay.
So, but I still want to understand some things that are almost like inconsistent to what I somehow see predominant population of believers, religious leaders, pastors. There is something. Do you think that these leaders that are overstepping discipleship into control? I mean,
If I get you correctly, there has been cases of abuse of religious leaders, right?
yeah,
Overstepping boundaries or taking it to the extreme and then controlling instead of leading, so to say, right?
yeah,
Okay. It's a major concern. Because I remember a time in the body of Christ, there was this thing that was on rampage. Pastors telling their members, I don't know if you know of that time, pastors telling their members to eat grass, to consume harmful, poisonous substances in the name of, oh, this can do this for you, selling things, oils, and what have you, in the name of this is going to bring a solution to. That's abuse. That's control. It's very dominant. It's eating up the African church, not just Nigerian church, African. Now, this is it. This is what I discovered. This is what I discovered. I was in a conversation with someone last week, and I was telling the person I discovered something. Two things actually. First is there is a sad story of people that do not even have discipleship. They do not have training. They do not have a traceable roots. They do not even have spiritual history. Gathering people, massive people, and discipling them, supposedly leading them, pastoring them. When you see such scenarios, abuse will definitely come in. This person doesn't even know the pattern. Where did this person come from? That's one. Second, because I think it's a two-way blame thing. It's a two-way blame. Secondly, would be the people that are being controlled, of the people that are victims of this leadership abuse. I was telling someone, like I said, I was discussing with someone, and I said, fake attracts fake.
okay.
There has to be something about you. If you always find yourself falling into the hands of charlatans, of leaders that you thought you can find solace in, but then they abused your vulnerability, there is first something about you that led you into that fall now. And there's something I have noticed. You can look sincere, sound sincere, think you are even sincere, but when you see a pattern repeat in your life, you should rethink your stance. So such people, I'm doing the two-way blame thing now. The people that are victims of this, there is usually a history or a pattern of laziness in their should I call it religious engagements. Imagine someone not wanting to know God for himself or herself, always depending on somebody. A time will come that person's humanity can play out. Even if the person started out sincere, person's humanity can play out, and then it will result in a controlling instead of leading to bring about transformation. So I think it's a call to people who find themselves under people to be deliberate about their personal labels, to bring about their personal, to see that before they can then, it's first a call to follow a man as he follows Christ.
Okay.
Yes, I
All
think
right.
that balances it.
Yeah. So it's a call to balance.
Yes.
Someone made a post. He said there is a great gulf between the discipled, the trained, and the undiscipled. So, and personally, I used to admire discipled people. They have this gentle nature, they have this sense of responsibility, and the rest. But I come from the tech background, so I also come to find out something that it confuses me now. I need to understand what happens actually. Most people leave their universities, secondary schools, genuine. I mean, they are creative, they want to change the world,
Right.
and somehow they find themselves in a church where the pastor tries to use that concept of you have to be discipled,
Right.
you have to be discipled, and before you can even think about it, the person has started losing some of his dreams and some of his creativity. In fact, his reasoning will now change from getting that big money to
Okay.
poverty is allowed.
Okay.
So I want to ask a question. Do you think discipleship kills the innovative spirit in people?
Thing I want to highlight is this. The one and only reason why someone who had big dreams, big plans, high hopes for his future or her future would find himself or herself being stifled by a certain rigor or training or retainer training, the one and only reason why such a thing will happen is first a lack of understanding on the pathways to achieving whatever it is that that person thought he or she is meant to achieve. First and foremost, I would say that. Because why I said it would be a lack of understanding is this. Now, imagine a scenario where one is so sure that he's called to the mountain of politics. He's so sure that God will have him do transformative things there. Or one who is so sure that he's called to tech, like he illustrated. I think the problem is that, like I said, the church does more of damage control, because when such people encounter leaders who ought to disciple them, they already have a preconceived notion on how that thing they want to achieve, that their call or that their mandate ought to come about. They already have a preconceived notion on how they think they ought to be trained. And it is quite sad, because more often than not, they think of it from the angle of it is not the same way you would train people that want to be pulpit ministers. So they think it's a separate kind of training they need, right? Now, there's this thing is quite dicey. I'm trying to be very careful, because there is also the other part where they begin to disciple you out of your unique call and want to mandatorily make you a pulpit minister, right? Okay. But if you are blessed to find yourself under a disciple who is an all-rounder, who is grounded all round, who knows that we might start from this pulpit thing, discipling thing, but we will be sent out. That's why it's called apostolic. That's why I said apostolic. The apostolic training model is the solution, because it is a sending model. You train them, you disciple them, you equip them. The same way you equip the missionary that is going to the mission field. Everybody will be trained in the same light, but retaining their uniqueness, and then sent out to invade systems. Do you see that? So, if a discipler doesn't know this thing and thinks that, it's just spiritual, the kingdom of this world is not it's the New Jerusalem, we're going to leave this thing. If you find yourself under such a person, that's when it's risky. But if you find yourself under a person who knows that God will have us, one of my favorite scriptures is Isaiah chapter 3. It says, the mountain of the Lord will be exalted, and all nations will flow to it to say, teach us the way of God. A discipler that has that understanding will know that the different people sent to me are going to be sent to different sectors.
So you are trying to say it depends on the discipler.
It actually depends. And also the person being discipled. Okay. Because if you do not know that there is that I might have been wrongly schooled in how my unique call will be achieved, you will fight the discipler who has genuine exactly,
and also sees farther than you can
farther than you can say. Thank you.
All right, so I will have to affirm from inside, I don't think your background has that problem, because from the last time I checked, most ministers are CEOs somewhere. So I highly recommend people to find their way to centers in affirmation.
The reason why I can confidently say that people, 90% of people that accuse religious leaders or disciples that, there is a tendency to lose your cutting edge when you come under a spiritual discipleship. The reason I can confidently say it is first as a result of your wrong orientation as to how this your unique calling in quotes will be achieved. The reason I can say that is because I know what accurate discipleship is. I have an accurate discipler for me in the person of I've studied with Nwachukwu, right?
You go.
So that's why I can see from a 360-degree point of view that there is this possibility. So if there is this other thing, it could be that you don't even know in the first place, because there are well-meaning disciples that know what ought to be, but you just might not be able to see from where you are at that moment. The only reason I can be sure of that is because I have an accurate discipler, and I have seen him disciple people in diverse, that are called to diverse mountains, diverse sectors, right? And
Okay. So personal faith and public responsibilities. Some people believe that when they go to church, their prayer can solve almost everything.
okay.
That they don't need to go ahead and get themselves involved in sectors like politics or even the military,
Right.
where you find yourself defending your country and maybe it has to involve killings. So some people also believe that when they are called to ministry, that's the end of work. They are called to full-time ministry. There is no social responsibilities. The society should do fast and gather and get me the tithe. So I want to know, how do you balance personal faith with public responsibility?
So just like the examples she gave, I think the reason why, as you're mentioning personal faith and public responsibility, I'm seeing numerous advantages. I'm seeing a collaboration that can bring about numerous advantages. So the reason why there would even be a need for balance in the first place would be because of extremes. We have to establish that. Imagine a situation where a supposed believer finds himself or herself in public service. Naturally, like what is rampant now is that personal faith is an excuse for lack of excellence, for I call it spiritual escapism. Like there are practical things you ought to be doing, but you choose to hide behind spirituality. Right. So imagine someone finding herself or himself in public service, and the excuse for not delivering effectively or excellently is your personal faith now. And then you're expecting, and then you find such people with prayer requests of, oh, they're not promoting me in my place of work, they are fighting me, they're persecuting me. And suddenly the person thinks that, oh, if I can just pray, I'll find favor in the sight of my boss or in the sight of my... Well, now watch this. There's a reason I went this route. Why will someone be so delusional to think that you are, first of all, not delivering how you ought to, especially when there is high expectations? Because I remember there was a time in the body that if you want to employ someone, you would specifically go for a certain kind of denomination because you trust that they are honest, that they will deliver, they will be diligent, right?
Yes.
So why will people, watch this, why will people who supposedly uphold, religious beliefs, why would they find themselves in that delusion that regardless of the fact that I'm not delivering as I ought to, I can pray? Even in academics, you see there, I can pray and then God will come through for me. There is something wrong. It still goes back to the education. Because on that day, you would then see that this person did not even know the first thing about prayer. That's also the reason why people will hide behind prayer and shun or shy away from, now giving themselves to going out there to actually convert that prayer engagement they did to practical, taking up of responsibility. It is first a defect in peer education.
So from the first point you made, that actually means that those outreaches, public engagements, they are platforms to pass down what you receive.
They are platforms. And talking about national transformation, right? They're even meant to be platforms for, because imagine where you utilize a public office now to portray the tenets of a Christian faith, right? Of your faith. I'm saying this both for commendation and for judgment. Imagine where a public office is used to fly that flag. Because people are people are susceptible to this, like they are in control of a mass number of people, and then people observing that this is how this person is doing this thing, this is how this person is doing this thing. That is already discipleship ongoing. And what brings about national transformation is corporate yielding to discipleship. How many can you get into the church setting? So that public responsibility ought to be a platform. Even that's why I said it ought to even be an advantage. They ought to work hand in hand. A platform to showcase. And then people begin to see that, oh, this is what is missing. This is what we actually need. And then that's what we're doing. We're having people's lens corrected. And then they're coming into transformation, and collectively it's equating to national
transformation. So that was a wonderful one. So can faith communities work effectively with secular organizations? You already hinted on this point. So it said it's all about education, all about understanding that faith-based organizations can use secular organizations or secular platforms to reach out. Okay. All right. So
but then I would also want to add, I mean, talking about faith-based organizations partnering with or working effectively, did you say, if they can actually work with
secular organizations.
Now, I noticed something. I noticed something. In as much as these secular organizational platforms can be used to project the tenets of the Christian faith in order to disciple a larger community of people to bring them into national transformation. More often than not, prolonged, or should I say from patterns over time, sometimes corruption is inevitable. I mean, corruption of these faith-based initiatives, it's inevitable sometimes. Now, I'm leveraging on the word effectively, work effectively with. And I would think, I would say, or I would suggest that faith-based initiatives should take it a little step further because it looks like the faith part of it is they have the goal, the vision, the dream. Then the secular part of it are the executioners. Like they have the technical know-how, they have the platforms, and it looks like we are at their mercy. To see that. So, in as much as that can work in a certain, I am of the opinion that there is a need to take it a step further to also provide, it's just like the other day, I think there was a denomination that they said they set up their own, is it chat now? They have their own chats, they have their own
banking system,
yes, their own social media. Yes. I mean, in the long run, because naturally, practically, faith practicing people, Christians, let me just be plain, are usually quite behind in catching up. This other side catch up faster. So if we keep being at their mercy, a time will come that we can be swallowed up.
Okay. So we need to
So
catch
there is
up.
a need to, yes, there
We
is
need
a need
to
step
take
up.
over
Yes,
every sector.
there is a need to step up.
Engineering,
There is a need to
mathematics.
step up. Yes.
All right. So now from the way you eat, from the way you sleep, if I have to sleep all night, I have to finish every food in the table. So do you think that discipleship can correct, or discipleship principles can correct the way people live their daily lives, and what practical steps can be taken to ensure that discipleship corrects or is applied in in daily lives of people?
Okay. Practical steps. First things first. Some days I wake up and I'm wondering, why did I choose this path? Of selfless living. I would rather not call it the title. I would rather call it path of death or selfless living for the benefit of, you know. So I then discovered that I discovered a hack to this. A daily, talking practicality now, a daily consciousness of that one goal that you are heading towards. A daily consciousness. That was all in scriptures. Likened it to a race. So it's just like you're on this really long race. And a time can just when you're like, wait, why am I running again? And you remember that there is a prize. There is a finish line. There is something that ought to be achieved at the end of this. There is something. At that point, you can't stop. You're already on it. You can't stop again. But a lack of consciousness, lack of deliberate reminder, or a deliberate rehearsal, right, can bring about a weakness or a departure. You just lose the whole essence of why you are even on the path in the first place. So the one thing I know is a daily reminder. There are ways to set up structures, systems that constantly remind you of why you are on this journey in the first place. And I will, in the context of our discourse, I would say, in this case, national transformation, we first need to see that, because people can be like a dassical because they don't know that it is first God's desire before it is their desires, or before it is a human desire. Remember we said it's a game of spirits, right? Seeking to find expression, seeking to find relationship. So one that has the understanding that God seeks to colonize this realm, to replicate a mandate of as it is in heaven. That was the original plan as to the whole creation, man, and all of that. So a constant, like I said, there are systems and structures that can constantly remind you that this is first God's agenda, and I'm a key player in it. That's already automatically streamlines your daily endeavors, engagements, daily labor, giving yourself to the personal transformation it will take to bring about a corporate transformation. That's constant reminder of why we are here in the first place.
All right. I asked a question earlier.